Jeremy, as the Vice President of Operations of ShipSide Life Coach Institute, I imagine you're getting quite a few prospects considering becoming a life coach, asking you questions. Is that true?
That's correct.
Okay. What I was hoping that we could do right now in this video is address the primary questions that they're asking one by one, and let's put this up on the internet so that individuals have access to the content, and that way they can make an intelligent, logical decision.
Well, excellent. The first and most obvious question I'm getting, Todd, is what is a life coach?
That's a good question. Okay, well, for somebody to understand what a life coach is, they really need to understand what a therapist or a psychologist is, okay? Therapists, psychologists, counselors, what they are basically restorative practitioners. What they do is they help individuals get back to what I call balanced line or human state. They fix you when you're ill or broken. So I guess the best way to describe it with an analogy would be to imagine a general practitioner, like a medical doctor, and you have, let's say, a broken arm, or you have a cold. There's something wrong with the body. And what you will do is you go on down to the hospital or to the clinic and you ask the practitioner to help you get back to human state. Their job is to fix you, not to enhance you, right? So what they'll do is they make you well, and then you're done. That's what a health practitioner does. Now, the difference between, let's say, a life coach and a therapist is the difference between a general practitioner and a cosmetic surgeon. See, now the cosmetic surgeon or a cosmetic dentist, what they'll do is beautify the body. They create fantasy images and make them reality. So that's taking years off of your face or your body, taking inches off your waist, making those inches go up somewhere else. You know, whatever it may be that you have in mind to make yourself look like, it's beautifying the body, taking it to that champion level. And you know what's interesting to me is the cosmetic surgeons, they're the ones driving the Rolls Royces. They're the ones making all the money, because 90% of us are not sick. But all of us have some dream vision of ourselves that we want to look better, do more, be more, have more. And that's what those doctors are about. They're about creating that image. Well, what a life coach does is the same thing in the therapeutic vein. We're not here just to restore. What we're here to do is to take that individual and make their champion or fantasy level imagining become a reality. So we're not here to just help somebody keep their job. We're here to help them get the dream career. We're not here to help somebody lose 20 pounds. We're here to help them become a fitness athlete and win trophies, right? So it's not about just being okay and staying put in your marriage. It's about having joyful levels of abundant harmony and romance and abundance in all areas of your imagining. So life coaches, by and large, are not just individuals that encourage. They are individuals that will both deploy restorative tactics that you would see in the therapeutic process, and then ultimately set up strategies that win to help individuals accomplish their dreams. They are the genie in the bottle. They are the wish masters. Did that help you? Does that explanation make sense?
It does, thank you.
Okay.
And Todd, are there different types of life coaches?
Yeah, there are. I mean, ultimately, life coaches, in my opinion, are not just individuals who have mastery in a particular niche and then, join the human race with their idea of how to get that accomplished. There's a lot of that out there. There's a ton of individuals out there. I have a great body, so now I'm going to teach everybody how to have a great body like mine. Or I have had lots of business success. Now I'm going to teach people how to be business success stories. There's books and tapes and iPodcasts and seminars and workshops everywhere on how to, right? A great life coach is somebody that understands how to help somebody get past their own inhibition, their own fears, stumbling blocks, and paper walls, so that they can even take that strategy. Now, once you have at least that portion licked, then the other various veins make sense, right? So then it makes sense, if you are a fitness athlete, to take that person to the next level and make them a successful athlete as well, right? So lots of different types of life coaches out there. There's coaches, there are executive coaches, there are spiritual coaches, there are finance coaches, there are physique coaches, but then there's the sports coaches. So there are coaches. What are they? They're individuals that take somebody who has a wanting up to that magnificent level of effectiveness in one particular area or in general areas, which is what life coaching, just general, somebody who helps you generally be well in all areas of your life. But without that first part, it really is a weak experience.
Okay, good. And the next question I get, Todd, is what do life coaches make in terms of income?
A good life coach who's certified by ICF or John Maxwell or any of the number of highly reputable coaching institutions, and then sits in their home office and doesn't book clients, nothing. Somebody walking around with a credential and letters next to their name and no clients, no money. Okay, an individual with a moderate credential or even just a good understanding of the techniques, who's abundant with clients, a lot of money. Okay, so first off, understand that just because you're a coach, just because you're being paid, doesn't mean you're being paid a lot unless you have client building strategies down. So let's just make sure that's clear. Am I clear on that one?
You are.
Okay, but the hourly rate that you would charge if you were going to be a successful life coach is $125 an hour on the low end, up to $300 an hour on the top end. And I'm talking eyeball to eyeball coaching. I'm talking about in your home office, comfortable from your chair, they're sitting across the way from you. You have got a pad of paper and a pen and a recording device, and you are engaged in helping them accomplish their task. Average $150 an hour all day. Okay? Average client should see you at least once a week if you're being responsible to them. So a good client's $500 to $600 a month, minimally. And if you are a part-time coach, I mean, literally you only have 10 or 12 clients that you've got booked, you're working 15 hours a week and you're making $60,000, $70,000 a year. That's somebody barely scratching the scratch of the surface. I mean, my father has been a regression coach for 42 years. He's booked 90 days in advance, 40 hours solid at $185 an hour. Okay, so that's the $300,000 a year income that a good person with veterancy in this space can earn. So you come in here with a professional understanding of how to do the job and a professional understanding of acquiring clients. I'm talking mystical. I'm not talking about maybe. I'm talking just strategy. You're a good $250,000 a year.
Okay. And Todd, what does someone need to do to qualify to be a life coach?
Okay, that's a good question. Okay, I want to attack that in a few different ways. First off, I want to minimize what everybody's perspective is on education. Now, if you're a therapist, psychologist, behavior modification technician, practitioner in counseling, you need certifications, you need state credentials, you take state testings, you need to have education, years of it. If you're a PhD, we're talking 8 to 10, right? And that space requires it, and it's responsible to it. It has a different mandate, and I get it. But in life coaching, your educational background is your life experience. So in other words, if you've had a triumph or a tragedy, you won the Olympics or you've overcome MS, you are a master of business and finance or a recovering addict out of the prison. Your life experience is what's going to be your best educational credential before strategy and technique. So the first thing you need to have is a story, a triumph or a tragedy, either overcome or documented. The next thing that will help you is empathy. You need to have empathy, the ability to sense and feel somebody else's feelings. If you have been locked off through trauma, if you are locked off through massive fear and anxiety, and you can't get a sense of somebody in front of you because you're just too selfish, you're going to have a very difficult time sitting down and conducting transference. That's the act of allowing the person in front of you to build trust and bond with you so that they can turn their will over to your strategies and suggestions, okay? Also, besides empathy, you're going to need to have the technique of social IQ. What I mean by social IQ, not somebody that just wanders around the party winning smiles and influencing friends and developing relationships. I'm talking about somebody that can simply talk. Can you listen and speak? My turn, your turn. Can you remember and stay on a talk track? Do you have the confidence to say, no, that's not right. That's not what you just said 3 minutes ago. Let's get real. Do you have the ability to be empathetic and sympathetic in your talk track? So, social IQ. And then finally, you need to have practical understanding of human change technology, strategies that help people actually get the job done. Because most of your problem that you're going to experience when you're dealing with clients is going to be individuals are amazing starters, not finishers. Can you help her finish what she started so that she can finally get to the other end of that diet? Can you help him stay in school so he finally gets a degree, right? If you have those basic attributes, you're going to be a star.
Wonderful. And what is the cost of attending a workshop through ShipSide Life Coach Institute?
Okay, ShipSide Life Coach Institute is different than other certification programs. first off, understand that our program is not online. We are not a do-it-yourself kit. This is not a podcast that you download. I'm making this video for individuals out in cyberspace just to get an idea from the comfort of their own home without feeling pressured what they would expect at our workshop, or more importantly, our course. Okay? But when you come into our classroom, that's where the learning begins. So all of our learning is done face-to-face, skill transfer, master to student, in a closed environment with explain, demonstrate, role play, observation, and feedback all in tow. Okay? With that in mind, 100 hours of solid instruction. You're talking about 100 hours of solid school instruction that does not take into consideration homework and extracurricular activities that we expect you to participate in to bolster your understanding, your long-term permanent ability to deploy these techniques. Okay? 72 hours of your instruction is done inside a classroom landside in Southern California or a Temecula location. So then that can be done, and I'll talk about the pace of that later, right? But the 28 hours of your instruction is done on a cruise ship. And I don't know if you've seen our motif. You know, we are ShipSide seminars, ShipSide Life Coach Institute. If you see ships everywhere, you're probably wondering what's up with the cruise ship. I like the end result, the final section of learning, the 1/3 final section, which is your dust up, your clinical, your testing, and your final phase learning, to be done in an alien environment, an inspirational environment. Nothing in there should trigger your normal life. Everything about it should be freeing, opening your mind to long-term permanent understanding, opening you up to spontaneous levels of joyful intelligence, and being able to reauthor your behavior, your complex behavior, so that when you get off that ship, you're a new person. And so when we take 72 hours of landside training, 28 hours of clinical and onboard cruise training, a cruise fare for 2, that cruise ship includes 2 passengers for 4.5 days, port fees, taxes, all the expenses, all the onboard amenities, all the food, everything's included, and the entire cost for the course is $3,000. It's $2,950 for the course, $50 for an application fee, and whether you pay it all up front or whether you choose to make payments, if you choose to make payments, we can allow you to have as much as 6 months to pay it all off, and we'll allow you to put $500 a month down if that's what you need. There is no additional charge for that. That's not our brand, to nickel and dime our students. But you do need to have the $3,000, your tuition, paid before you've completed your 72nd hour, your landside portion of your learning. So $3,000. Now, online studies out there, there's online schools for $700 do-it-yourself kits, and there's $18,000 and $24,000 9-month, 6-month, 3-month courses out there. I'm not competing with what they have to teach. We're just not focused, when you hear our curriculum, on just time management, accountability strategies, tie downs and sales talk tracks. We are partnering with therapeutic change in tandem with influence and accountability, and helping individuals get to their true joy, right? That's our modality.
Okay. And in terms of the courses, how does the ShipSide coach course work?
Okay, you want to hear the course curriculum? Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Okay, so why don't you read off the course curriculum that you have questions about?
Okay, let's start with the first one, personality profiling.
Personality profiling, that's 6 hours of the over 100 hours of instruction that we give. Personality profiling is a necessary technique. Now, what I want you to imagine is, I want you to understand, when a client sits down, you're face to face with them, the very first thing they're doing is lying. They're in delusion, they're lying to themselves, they don't even know it. They start to try to partner with a practitioner. Either they're going to defend themselves, or they're going to try to build a bridge of relational a partnership, but not based necessarily in intimate cooperation. Okay, so it's up to me as the practitioner to assess this client, to get to the truth of who they are, so we can help them get the most effective experience in coaching. Okay, so personality profiling allows me to go in and take an ingredient look at that client through their facial expressions, body posture, candor, vocabulary, rate of speed of speech, all the way they answer certain questions. All of that content comes at me and immediately tells me their story. It's almost like they have a cartoon bubble above their head that says everything they're thinking, and it allows me to understand what their primary motivations are, what their agendas are, what their deep fears are, And then I change my talk tracks. I teach you as the practitioner how to change your personality, relatability talk track at that moment so you can encourage them to get involved with their project change at a more deeper level. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay.
The next one on the list here is instinctual mapping.
Okay, so instincts, we've all heard of the word instincts. Every animal, has an instinct, instinctually reacts to stimuli, that kind of thing. As human beings, we have primarily 5 instincts that we are born with that are innate inside of us: a social instinct, a sex instinct, ambition instinct, a security instinct, a self-esteem instinct. These are the 5 things that are inside of us that allow us to interact as human beings in a social, developing community. Okay. Now, when we have trauma or pervasive trauma or some type of like massive act, positive or negative, that happens in our life more than once, it affects one or more of these instincts adversely, makes them hyperactive. So when an instinct is hyperactive, so let's say, for example, your sex instinct is hyperactive, that might make the man feel a need or an obsessive need to be promiscuous, to satisfy or to satiate that itch. Okay, so now to get more than what they've got coming, they've got to deploy certain principles that are defective. So they'll use assets like dishonesty, manipulation, denial, anger, judgment, suspicion, whatever. They'll use these like hammers and saws to construct the experience they're looking for. As they deploy these defects of character, they start causing pain in their world, pain in the world around them. Pain requires medication. They're going to typically use some type of social salve, social medication, personal medication to ease or comfort that pain. It could be drugs, alcohol, more sex, anger, judgment, control, manipulation, church, whatever it may be, positive or negative. They use it like they rub it on themselves to try to ease that discomfort. Okay, so to get to the root of why you tell your client, don't eat like this and your body will look like this, and then they go eat like that, and you're wondering, well, why are you doing that? Well, ultimately you have to get past that act, get past the defective character, and get into the instinct that's being satiated by that chewing. So when we teach you how to read and identify hyperactive instincts, understand their drivers, understand their stumbling blocks, you're going to be able to take an ingredient look at each one of your clients and really identify and put your finger on the things inside of them and the things that are inside of their makeup that's holding them back from accomplishing the dreams that they already know the strategies to. They already have 5 books on it, but for some reason they just can't act positively against it.
Okay, the next one is obsession triggers.
Obsession triggers. Okay, so she can't eat without eating too much of this, right? I can eat salad all day long, but if I have one piece of pizza, I eat the whole pizza. We have triggers in every one of the areas of our I guess our failing or our flaw, and we try to look at our client as a whole being with an individual-ish set of issues. We don't just kind of throw them into a bucket of like all people should act like this. So we look at their situation, their relationship ideals, their diet ideals, their life ideals, and find out where are the pitfalls, where are the misunderstandings in their activities that will get them in trouble compared to somebody else, right? Look for their individual obsession triggers so that we can, again, keep them on a positive track.
And skill transferring.
Okay, skill transfer. Now this is a course that by itself I've charged $2,000 to $3,000 all by itself to top executives, to corporations. I've flown in teams for days, sometimes 2 weeks, to teach the art of skill transfer. It is, in my opinion, one of the most, if not the most important trait that a coach can own. Now, skill transfer really is legitimately the ability or process for taking a skill or an attribute from somebody that demonstrates mastery or what I call best practices in one particular activity, and then taking that skill and then moving it over into another human being with like fit. In other words, here's a fitness athlete. She's 43 years old. Maybe she used to be 60 pounds overweight, but now she is 9% body fat, winning trophies 2 times bigger than her. Here is a 43-year-old woman who says, I want to be a fitness athlete. Okay, but she has all her failings. She's frumpy. She's just a normal human being with just an average body, but she has a dream. Okay, so her and I would sit down and identify this creature that kind of is the pinnacle of her goal, and we would break down all of her activities, attributes, actions. and we will put them into a menu, like a laundry list, so to speak, or a recipe. And then one by one, how many hours she sleeps, what she eats, when she eats it, how she works out, how often she works out, how she rotates, her philosophy on life, how often she smiles. All these things we start just kind of moving over, transferring over to this client. Step by step, stage by stage, eventually this client acts in the exact same capacity as the champion, ultimately achieving the champion's results. She couldn't stop the results if she wanted to. All she has to do is act exactly as this person. She will require and acquire all the things that that person acquires. So, you know what the really good thing about skill transfer is? Once you own skill transfer, you can actually skill transfer to yourself. You can actually identify coaches, teachers, mentors, businessmen or women, spiritual guides, whatever it may be, that have things that have skills that you want, and you can embody them. It's the transfer of human software.
The next one is influence.
Okay, influence is the concept of sitting down and encouraging somebody to stay on track with their goals. And through accountability influence, okay, let me give you an example. Why do you think I ask, first off, every single student that works at ShipSide Institute, or actually shows up at our institute, is required to have a client of their own within 5 weeks. Okay, a paying client. And, I'm talking self-esteem in tow. They need to be charging at least $125 an hour, 4 hours a month billing. And I don't make any money on that. We don't make any money. We don't take a piece of that. We don't sell them the lead. There's no agenda there. But what happens within 5 weeks, in the moment they have that client, what happens is when they know the client's showing up on Thursday for a session, it hyper-focuses them in class. It gets them to show up. When normally procrastination might start in about the 4th or 5th week for every human being. Oh, here we go again, school. But they have this client who's showing up with a check with an expectation that you do well. So they come to class and they hyper-focus without me having to tell them. They take that technique and they bring it to the client. The client responds, writes them a check, bolsters the self-esteem, and says, I'll see you next week. Now the student shows back up again with more fervor, with a sense of, I am. I'm not going to be a life coach. I am a life coach. I am making money, right? On top of that, the income they make from that one client makes the payment for their school tuition for that month. They have a zero cost experience now for their learning experience because they are in the business of profiting from this new exercise. So now, by setting up a situation or strategy where the student has to go out and get this client, we teach them the first few weeks to do that and influence them to do that, then they get the client. Then what happens is that naturally puts them into a cycle where they feel compelled to learn, that makes them earn, which compels them to learn and urges them to the next stage. The next month when they get their second client, they're profiting, where they get $1,000 from 2 clients, but they write us a check for $500 and make money from it. It's done. So how can you take that same type of process and attach it to your client to keep them motivated, inspired, to drive themselves in their activity, right? So we'll teach that. We'll teach how to look for that angle, look for that leverage piece that positively reinforces individuals' behaviors, automatically assuming that every human being has procrastination as an asset. It's an asset. It's defective character, but reality is an asset. And we need to replace that asset with a different strategy, right? So that's influence.
Okay, and then moving down, trauma mapping.
Well, I mean, trauma is something that everybody has experienced, at least once or more than once in their life. There's a massive audience of individual adults and and teenagers and children that are being affected by life. They're being touched wrong, talked to wrong, loved wrong, or some massive thing has happened in their life that was just accidental, whether it was a tragedy, mom and dad died, or brother died, or you almost did, or you lost this, or you were ill, something. Overcome a disease, overcoming a handicap, whatever it may be. Trauma permanently arrests accurate perspective of tomorrow. And when you have something in the past that's happened to you or occurred to you repeatedly, it forever changes your perspective of what's going to happen tomorrow. Your perspective of what's going to happen tomorrow always affects your actions of today. Okay, so let me give you an example. So Jeremy, let's say I said to you, you're going to get $10 million wired into your account on Monday because you're a trust fund baby And surprise, you're getting $10 million on Monday for sure. And I could prove to you that was the case. You knew for a fact you're getting $10 million wired into your account on Monday. Would that change your actions for today?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. How about this? What if I told you, you knew for a fact I was telling the truth, that come Sunday, the world is going to end for you. No more world for you. It's all done as of Sunday. Would that change your actions of today?
Yes.
Okay. This is a stark example, but it's perfectly accurate. If you know for a fact that something's coming to a head or something's changing in your short, midterm, or long-term future, it will change what you do today. And since trauma changes what we think is going to happen tomorrow, then what trauma mapping does is the first step of going back in time, looking at the individual points where you were traumatized, accurately putting them down on a map, and going, this is my life, this is where I was arrested, and this is what's affected by it. And then we take the next step to go and make changes there.
Okay. Regression.
Regression is the action that we take to change it. Regression by itself talks about the modality. We regress, we go back in time, back in history to each one of those trauma points, and through conversational tracks and a very specific strategy, we take you as a guided guest to your own life and let you reinterpret that trauma point. And we go, and if it was severe, we might go there 2 or 3 times, but eventually what will happen is it will change. It will unwrinkle like a knot in your life development. And since it becomes unwound here, all of a sudden your perspective tomorrow becomes instantly changed. Okay? So you go back in time and you say, I was arrested, I was a no-good drug addict, I fell out of school. But we go back in time and reinterpret that to life, purpose-driven life training, an angle for helping others change, no different than experiential wisdom, developing your street PhD. And now you have that as a tool to help others change. Immediately you look at your future as, I am a success story in the happening. I could even write a book one day, I imagine. And then what happens today is no longer are you feeling shame, you feel a sense of purpose, and then you walk out and live your life's dream. So that's just a loose example, but that's what regressions. My father and John Bradshaw and a few others have made massive, there's so much work to be done in regression that I know individuals that fly out of country to come in and work with my dad up in Snowflake just to try to learn about one component of coaching, right? It's vastly important. It dramatically and radically changes individuals overnight.
Okay. Accountability.
Well, accountability is exactly the other half of influence, which we talked about earlier. To be honest with you, it's more about just roping in through documentation and strategy and the suggestions that you make somebody into appropriate behavior. But I do want you to know this: bad behavior, like him cheating, us leaving, her quitting, all of those things only occur when accountability, opportunity, and temptation all happen at once for the wrong act. Okay, you have to have all three. Now, nobody's going to act wrong if at least one of those 3 things are in tow: of accountability, opportunity, and temptation. Okay, so we will teach you how to help your clients make sure they arrest, from a negative behavior standpoint, at least one of those stool legs, so they stay on track.
Intervention.
Intervention by itself as well could be a career. Intervention, when I talk about intervention, that whole strategy is taught to our coaches to help individuals champion awareness, reality, pop delusion bubbles. Look, 1 out of 10 of us is addicted to something, severely, incorrectly, and causing ourselves and others pain. Okay, whether it be drugs, alcohol, sex, gambling, something. Okay, the challenge with that is most times, 99% of the time, we're deluded. And delusion cannot see truth. It is mental illness. So in an illusion, if David Copperfield makes the plane disappear and you go, wow, magnificent, okay, and then he shows you how he did it, you're like, oh, it was just a trick, okay. Well, in delusion, he makes the plane disappear, then you show the client that it was just a trick, and they're like, nope, I don't believe you, it's magic. So no matter how many times you factually demonstrate to them, you've been arrested, she's leaving you, you're hurting us, that behavior is killing you, you can say all those things all you want. But if you don't do it with specific strategy, with intervention strategies that really win, they don't see it. All they do is become offended, and the asset of anger, judgment, running away, denial stands up, attacks you, and then makes your loved one run backwards. Good intervention strategists will charge sometimes as much as $5,000 for 2 days of partnering with a family to help them sit a loved one down and open their minds to the idea that they might need recovery. You will own that technology when you show up in our course.
Okay. And then the next one here is intervention.
I think we just talked about intervention, actually.
Oh, did we? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, assessment. Excuse me.
Okay, that's correct. Assessment, look, as you're changing, part of the influence factor is hope. Hope comes from the obvious facts and faith that from your win, you're changing, you're developing. In other words, you get to see right in front of your eyes that something significant or remarkable is rearranging in your life, in you. Through journaling, accountability, through ongoing assessment of your current state, we can see how you would change. Now, I want to give you an example. One of the strategies we teach is somebody will make a fears inventory of all the things they're scared of, and then ask themselves, why are they afraid of that? So let's say somebody says, I am afraid of losing all of my net worth. And I would say, well, why are you afraid of losing your net worth? Well, because I will lose my wife. She won't respect me anymore. I'm worried about what people think of me, losing my reputation, or I'll have a security issue because now I'll be afraid of being homeless. It'll hurt my self-esteem because I think I'm important if I have important things. So this is why they're afraid of losing their things. Okay, so 6 months later, you're working with them, and you ask them again, what are you afraid of? And they say, I'm afraid of losing my things. Okay, so by simply saying I'm afraid of losing my things, it appears that there's been no change. Then we go through it and go, well, we've done a lot of work. Let me ask you a question. What is affected by you? What's affected if you lose your things? And they say, well, I've learned to be comfortable with myself, and I no longer care about like having shiny things to make myself feel good. And it doesn't really matter to me what other people think of me anymore because we worked through that. And I know my wife loves me for me because I'm worthy of it. The only reason I'm still worried about losing my things is because I'm afraid of being thrown in the street, and I don't want to be hungry and homeless. So they really have, so I say, so you've grown. You've grown 75% right here in this one area. And all we have left to abolish that complete fear is to get over this one issue. And so through assessment, we can show them, look, you're growing, you're changing, you're developing. And that encourages them to continue to work with you because you're actually making a difference.
Okay. And client development.
Clearly just as important as technique to help clients develop. I mean, I am so sad for any individual that gets a degree in psychology or a life coaching certification or masters any modality of human change technology and then wanders out and goes, okay, now where? They get off the bus and go, now how do I find clients? When in reality, getting clients is simple. Look, a client's $500 a month. 40 of them, which is full-time, 40 hours a week. That's $20,000 a month in income, but it's only 40 sales. You've only sold 40 people on the idea that you can help them change. And look at all the content that you have. Look at all the value. If all you did was focus specifically on helping sober people get more sober, or helping families find recovery for their person who's addicted, or help individuals who've been sexually molested find freedom, or help individuals finally find fitness championship, or whatever your modality is, there's enough content there to find 40 clients, especially in Southern California where there's 20 million adults, all over the southern tip of this state. So listen, finding 40 clients is as simple as, LaTip, Chamber of Commerce, meetup groups online where you set up, classes and general work programs, a little Facebook interaction, some Google directories with reviews, right? Some altruistic investment where you donate at least 10% of your weekly time to worthwhile endeavors that touch your niche. I mean, and there's much more, but it's simple. It's mathematics. It's algorithmically driven. You do, A plus B, and it will always equal C. So we give a very strong amount of our hours in the very first month, second, third month, and definitely on the ship to make sure that somebody knows how to build whatever client base that they're looking for.
And what is the bonus workshop development?
Well, some individuals have visions of being a teacher and a coach. They see themselves in front of a class. Maybe they already are in front of a class. Maybe they're quite comfortable with speaking in front of 30, 40, or 400 people. And you know what? I love that too. I speak in front of sometimes thousands of individuals and sometimes in front of 20. But I love teaching class. So if you are the kind of person that wants to be a teacher, then we have a supplement workshop on the cruise ship. That's free. It doesn't cost more. It's not an add-on or accoutrement that we try to sell you. It's just an elective. And what it does is it teaches you how to fill up a classroom, how to hold a workshop effectively, how to present much more value than expected. So you're always bringing the game. And then ultimately, our content. You know, we give you a chance to showcase your newfound kind of tools in front of our student attendees. And, you know, it's an audition of sorts, an interview of sorts. Because if you're interested in potentially being a life coach teacher, right, for ShipSide, we give you a chance to show us your social IQ in front of a crowd with that content in tow. And if you choose to be a teacher, we pay $2,500 for 4.5 days of education to a coach, and give passage for 2 on our ship if you teach our content well. And if you want to, you know, sail twice a month or 4 weeks a month, it's completely up to you. But you could also get off the ship and just open up workshops, start teaching classes.
Well, Todd, I really appreciate you taking a few minutes and answering these questions and going through these different components of the workshop. Do you have any final thoughts or notes that you'd like to share?
Yeah, I would. I think that if you're looking at this video, it's because some part of you has asked for this content. I'm not trying to wrestle or get in the way of what you may or may not believe in. This is not my philosophical perspective. It's just that you've asked for this. You said, I want to see this content. That means at some level, there's a human in you that wants to teach others how to be better. And I don't want you to know that that's my agenda too. That's my mandate. I mean, there's other ways of making easier money than this. And my career is abundant. But I do love this. And if you love people, and if you truly love watching individuals change, the idea of restoring a husband, not just to his family, but that little boy that's in him that always wanted X, and helping him accomplish that so that his life is purpose-driven, right? Or that sense of pride and value that comes from watching this woman that used to be 210 pounds, but now she's 103, and she's standing up getting a trophy and feeling so proud of herself and motivating and inspiring women to do different things in their own lives, whatever it may be. Maybe you're not going to apply this trade full-time, but you think you'd like to be the coach in your own family's life. You know, the idea of your client base is going to be a client of four kids, or maybe 3 kids and a wife, and you want to be the most important influencer in your family's life. Well, then for a few $1,000s and a great vacation, I'd like to invite you, for whatever your reason, for whatever your calling, whatever your purpose, I want to invite you into my class. I want to invite you to come to ShipSide and spend some time with us. And I guarantee you one thing, this is the only thing I will guarantee, and that is when you come off the ship, the person that came into class will not be the one that gets off the ship. You will never be the same person again. And the people that are around you are going to notice it. And you're going to make people different too. So if that's something that you're really deeply interested in, I want to hear from you. So feel free to email me directly at Todd, T-O-D-D, at ShipSideSeminars.com if you have a direct question for me. Again, that's Todd at ShipSideSeminars.com. Otherwise, just get in contact with the educational counselor or the technical recruiter that suggested that you watch this video, and let them know that you'd like to be one of our student body attendees. And I can't wait to see you ShipSide.
Okay, well, thank you so much for your time.
You got it.